Okay, so looks like we got sound there. Yeah. Yes, we do definitely have sound. Not hearing too much background noise from the fan, hopefully. Fucking hot here. Anyway, nah, looks all good. So look, hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. I also live stream my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you'd like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it get put together live, send me a message today. Alright, so we've got a nice easy one on here tonight. We've got a Ryzen 7600 RTX 4060 Ti rig. So all pretty good stuff here. You know, DDR5 RAM, obviously. We've got a 2TB SSD. We've got an Antec AX81 case, which is pretty good, pretty nice case in my opinion. So look, let's just dive right into it. So we got the Ryzen 5 7600 6-core 12-thread CPU. We've got the MSI PRO B650M-A Wi-Fi motherboard. We have a PNY RTX 4060 Ti, 8GB graphics. I'm going to put that one down to the side for now. We have a Deepcool PK650D 650-watt power supply. Crucial P3 Plus 2TB NVMe SSD, a 5600 MHz CL36 kit of RAM there from Thermaltake, the Tough RAM Z-1. I hate some of these names sometimes, right? And the aforementioned Antec AX81 case. So, sweet as. Let's get stuck right into it. So I'm going to share the screen here and we're going to go through our motherboard. So I've used this board a few times. It's quite a nice board for its price. And I would recommend it over Asus and Gigabyte boards at similar price. Okay. Oops, as you can see there, definitely the same board that's on the screen. But we'll start from the top left-hand corner of the motherboard, where we have a 8-pin and a 4-pin connector there. That's for our CPU power. So up to 12 pins of power. That can deliver basically 375 odd watts of power to the CPU, though I wouldn't really recommend pushing that much juice through a CPU because it will run at 100 degrees. We got nice direct touch heat sinks here on the MOSFET, VRM and co-processors. Our AM5 socket there in the middle. We have a total of 5 fan headers, so 1, 2, 3 up the top, and 4 and 5 down the bottom and in the middle. We have a total of 4 RGB headers, 2 5V and 2 12V. We have 2 M2 slots, dual channel memory there, so 4 slots of RAM, but it's 2 channels, so that's why you install one stick and then you skip a slot and install the other stick. It's not for cooling purposes or anything like that. It's because each slot, out of all the slots, there's 2 channels, and of those slots, there is a channel 1 and there is a slot 1 and slot 2 for each channel, and so basically you have your sticks in channel 1 slot 1 and channel 2 slot 1, if that makes sense. You could have them in the other slots, but then there's basically some issues there with how the CPU communicates with the RAM. It's not optimized, so that's why there's a particular slot that you put one stick in and a particular slot you put another stick in, and then you use the other 2 vacant slots if you need to add more RAM. So we've got our 24-pin ATX power there for the motherboard. We have a USB-C front panel connector. I don't think this case has USB-C, but if you added it to a case that did, you'd have it there. We have 4 SATA ports there, and we have a horizontally orientated USB 3 port. Down the bottom here, we've got a speaker header, we've got our front panel, we've got 2 USB 2s, we've got a COM port, we have our front panel audio, these little gold capacitors there down the bottom left hand corner, that's the audio capacitors there. The gold is a bit of insulation around the capacitors because audio is an electrical signal and it's subject to EM interference from surrounding devices. They always have the audio in the same area of the board, away from up here where there's a lot of power running through it and whatnot. So that's what it's about, and that's why they're covered in this little gold wrap. It just helps insulate them a little bit better. As I said, we got 2 M2 slots in the middle of the board there. We've got a PCIe X16, a little X1 slot, and this one at the bottom there is an X4 slot. And then around the back here, so for our outputs, we've got a display port and a HDMI port on the back. We don't actually want to use these, we want to use the ones on our graphics card. We've got a total of 8 USB 3.2s. We've got 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2, and our audio outputs. So pretty good little motherboard there. I'd be more than happy to have this in my personal rig, to tell you the truth. I personally really like MSI motherboards. It's also, like I say to people, it's what MSI is famous for. So just keep that in mind. I think I've told people the story of the first time I bought an MSI motherboard, which was back in the early 2000s when I was still a kid. I was building a new PC and I was buying all my parts off eBay, because that's what you did if you wanted cheap PC parts, and probably still is today. And you know, people would tell me, oh, you need to get an Asus motherboard, you need to avoid all those cheap Chinese manufacturers like MSI. You know, what the hell is that kind of thing? You need to go with Asus. And you know, freaking, you know what, fucking 12-year-old me is like, yeah, that sounds cool and all, but my fucking account balance says otherwise. So yeah, you know, I think I'm gonna buy this MSI board. And honestly, every MSI board I had no problems at all. So I was quite happy even back in the day, and that's how MSI went from being an obscure Chinese manufacturer to a company that is very famous in the consumer PC world. Okay, so here's our 2TB Crucial P3 Plus Gen 4 NVMe SSD. Very good. Alrighty. CPU time. So although it's called the Central Processing Unit, this isn't the thing that gives you your real gaming might. That comes from your graphics card. So remember that if your budget isn't really high, you should always prioritize your graphics card over the CPU. Okay? Because I get people every so often that come to me with a PC that they built themselves. They went and selected all their parts and built their own PC, and then they come to me and they're like, how come I can't run any games? I've got the latest i7 processor. And then you go and have a look and they've got like a freaking GT 1030 graphics card in there, which basically only runs old games, like really old games. And then you have to explain to them that they basically jumped right in and they prioritized different aspects of the build because they didn't really know what they were doing. They thought they had an idea of what was important. And, you know, the same thing gets said. People buy CPUs and they, you know, they'll buy ones that don't come with a cooler and then they're like, oh shit, I need a cooler. You know. Alrighty. So just getting the cable orientated the way that I want. Can you change off the board screen there, babe? Thanks. Alright, so the board's all prepped and ready to go there. Nice and easy. Okay. So when you're shopping for your power supply, make sure that you don't just look at the efficiency rating and use that to determine how good the power supply is. So when I say the efficiency rating, I'm talking about the 80 plus rating. So when they say it's a bronze rated or a gold rated, it's not talking about the quality of the power supply. What they're talking about is the efficiency of the power supply. Alright? And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say efficiency, so when you plug your PC into the wall, right, it takes AC current out of the wall in your house and converts it into DC, because all of the components of your PC take DC current. So that's what a power supply does, and there is always a loss when you convert from AC to DC or DC to AC. There's always a loss, and that is what the 80 plus rating describes, and that's what it is. If you're looking for, if you're trying to get a PC that, if we're trying to get a PC that's as good quality as possible, and you want to make sure that the power supply is of the best quality, if you either look up the power supply reviews and see what you can find online about them, but if you're just an average person shopping at different power supplies and looking at all the different models and stuff, I would use the manufacturer's warranty as your ultimate guide to quality. Because there are some really cheap and nasty 80 plus gold power supplies out there, and I would much rather a 80 plus bronze unit over many of them. Anyway, yep. Hey Chris, how you going? Good to have you with us. Hey Darren, how you going? Good to have you here as always. Hey Joe, how you going? Good to have you with us, mate. Oh, CPU bottleneck. Oh god, bottlenecks. Oh my god. Oh my god. Talk about one of the most misunderstood aspects of PCs, you know. And the problem is, my theory is you can blame the freaking PC enthusiast community for this kind of shit, because they'll say to their friend that they need to get a certain CPU, if not they'll be bottlenecked, and then people hear this from their friend, and then they assume that it's this really big deal, and like when you buy a modern PC there are massive bottlenecks to take into consideration. The way people freak out about it, it's like they think that, you know, a modern CPU is gonna, you know, tank the performance of their graphics card by like 50% or something. But yeah, every system has a bottleneck. That's the thing about it. You know, most systems, they, you know, most gaming PCs, the bottleneck is the graphics card. All the other components just have to keep up with that graphics card. You're not gonna, if the graphics card's not the bottleneck, then it becomes the RAM or the CPU or the power supply could be the bottleneck. So it's just one of those things, and when it's annoying because I get like people who know nothing about computers freaking out about bottlenecks. And I don't sell fucking random old parts that I import off eBay or some shit. All I sell is modern computers and the odd fucking random secondhand PC that either gets traded into me or the parts get traded in or something like that. I never go searching for used PCs. And when you buy new PCs, well, you know, any bottlenecking that occurs is minimal. And if you can't afford a massive CPU like a 7800X 3D or something, if you can't afford that, then, you know, it doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money on your CPU and cut your graphics card down because you're scared of a bottleneck. Because, yeah, I mean, on the low end, you get the cheapest possible CPU you can get that is going to be half decent. So basically just anything that's modern from a current generation, you get that cheap CPU, and then you get the best graphics card you can afford and you plug that in. Because, you know, at the end of the day, if your budget is low, there's no point spending extra money on the CPU just to make sure that there's not like a 3 or 4% bottleneck on the CPU with your graphics card. Doesn't make sense spending, you know, $400 more on your CPU for your $1,300 odd PC build. So, like we've got here, we've got a Ryzen 7600 6-core 12-thread. So that is a modern chip, and we're putting it with a graphics card that's basically the same age. So we're not going to have any considerable bottlenecking. Yeah. Oh fuck! Really? I've made a mistake. Have I? Can you change that, babe? Thanks for pointing that out, mate. I really appreciate that. And yes, you're correct. There's no such thing as 4060 Super. I honestly hate it, to be completely honest with you. Like, Super, TI, like, these are bullshit marketing terms. And, you know, I literally had a customer today saying, hey, I got a 4080 off you. I've seen that there's 4080 Super. What's the difference? Should I upgrade? Yeah. And it's like, no, it doesn't make any sense to upgrade. It's a revision. I wish they would just adjust the number of the graphics card, you know. So, like, you know, instead of saying a 4060 Ti, why not a 4650? Like, maybe, you know, maybe I need a freaking marketing lesson with computer parts, and maybe they can convince me of what they're doing. But I think it makes it really hard to explain to people what the difference is. Whereas if you go to them, hey man, here's the 4060 and here's the 4060-50, then they get the idea. It's like the 4060, but it's the better one. It's the 4060-50. It's like, you know, there's a 2.4 litre diesel Hilux that you can buy, and then there's a 2.8 litre diesel Hilux that you can buy, and people aren't confused by those numbers as to which one is the better version, sort of thing. So anyway, we got the rear I/O shield in now, so I've got a couple of the offsets to move around here. Okay. I hope I didn't make the same mistake in the thumbnail. That'd be freaking embarrassing if I made the mistake twice. I love to see the vote of confidence from my wife there. You probably did.
Oh no, you didn't.
See, I did it right. I did it right. Okay. See, I'm not completely crazy, right? Okay. Are we? Oh, sweet. Okay. All I can say is thanks to Latios for picking it up. If not, I'll get, if he doesn't bring that, if he didn't like pick that up, I'd get some young kid chiming on and starting to tell me that I don't know anything, like don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know anything about PCs. We still on? We still right?
Yeah.
Yep, we're still good. Sweet.
Sorry, there's a severe thunderstorm moving.
Yep. But yeah, as I was saying, thanks Latios for pointing that out, or I'd get some, you know, some freaking, I don't know, some young kid. Man, there's some really rude young kids. Like really rude. They send me messages and stuff like that, and the attitude is just unbelievable. I swear I was never as entitled as some of these fucking people I deal with, eh? This kid messaged me, he's like, my budget is $650. I want 240 frames a second in Fortnite. Can you do it? Like challenging me?
Shot him down and he called Tim a dick.
Yeah. I kept showing him quotes. I'm like, look man, realistically, $650 is money down the drain from your perspective if you want to play Fortnite competitively, anything near 240 frames a second. So here you go, man. Here's a quote for, you know, 1150 or something like that with a 4060. You know, at least something decent to like help him out. And he goes, I told you my budget is 650. And I'm like, bro, you should just save up some more money. And then got the shits and called me a fucking idiot and all this. And it's just like, bro, you're the one with no fucking money trying to get a PC that's better than what you can afford, and basically harassing system integrators like myself, basically trying to challenge them to build you a PC with the specs you want for the price that you can afford. Like, seriously, man, that's some fucking attitude, right? I swear I'm not being unreasonable here. Yeah. Hey man, how you going? Yes.
Yes, we're about to get hit by it.
Yep.
We're in Wivenhoe Pocket.
Yes, we're right next to Wivenhoe Dam, actually.
Like, not even 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes by the time you get to the highway from here. A nice little tiny community up here that nobody knows exists.
Everyone's starting to say, what's this PC for?
This is just a relatively budget gaming PC, budget to mid-range gaming PC for someone. I think this customer's over in WA. Yeah, 4090, just not good price to performance. If you want good price performance, 4070 Super, 4070 Ti Super, and 4080 Super are your friends. Because in terms of Aussie dollars, you get a 4080 Super for 1600 Aussie dollars. It's pretty hard to find an RTX 4090 under 3 grand. So basically what happens is from 4080 Super to a 4090, it's like 25% extra performance, but you're paying like nearly 100% more. So pay 4 times, basically pay twice as much for your graphics card and get 25% extra performance. But the problem is, you might think, oh, 25% is nothing to be snuffed at. Yeah, it's true. But a 4080 Super runs every game at fucking hundreds of frames per second. You know, by the time you're running games at 200 plus frames per second, what difference is another fucking 50 frames from 200? You know, that's the equation, you know. Doesn't make as big a difference, because once you hit a certain point, it's just like, it's just fucking dick wanking shit from beyond that, because human eyes, you can look this up and prove me wrong. Prove me wrong if you can. Human eyes do not see the world at fucking 240 hertz or 360 hertz, or Asus's ROG monitors they've got 480 hertz monitors. Just a freaking big fucking dick wank, because, you know, you can't tell me that there's nobody at Asus who is competent and scientifically literate enough to... We're okay?
Yeah. For now.
Fucking hell.
I think maybe we should stop the stream, because we might lose power.
If we lose power, we lose power. There's nothing we can do about that.
Indeed, days state.
Cool.
Very good. Adios's 49 will become when 5090's out.
Yep.
Same thing happens with
30. Yep. Remember, there was 3090 Ti as well.
This is the cards in the middle that are... It's the cards in the middle that are 4070 Super is great price.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, like I said, between 4070 Super, 4070 Ti Super, 4080 Super, the price to performance is pretty much the same. You know, 5-ish% difference on some of them. And it's never that simple, because, you know, you could have certain cards are kind of optimized for certain games and stuff like that. So yeah.
Zyro says I like you. Real, super real and Aussie as well.
Yeah, mate. I'm down to earth as fuck. I try to be. I've been building PCs since I was a kid, basically. So, in terms of like how long I've been doing it and stuff like that, I've seen a fair bit of stuff change with PCs over my life. I used to just do it as a side project, and I guess it's still a little bit of a side project in some regards, but it's a lot more of a significant thing now than it used to be in the past. So,
Tim?
yeah.
Dario says, Tim, be careful because I'm doing a BIOS update for electricity worries tonight, but I guess you have the UPS.
We got the UPS, so we're all good in terms of that side of things.
It's just a strange...
The other night, like, the CPU died. The CPU died on us, because if it was the motherboard that died, then when I plugged the CPU into another AM5 board, the CPU would have been fine. But in fact, it was the CPU that died, and then it seems like the motherboard went along with it. So I don't doubt that. I mean, it doesn't matter. The customer whose PC that was, I've just bought them a new motherboard and CPU and handed it back to them. So it's DOA on my end. So once they assess it and process it, I get a full refund for it anyway. So I'm not really too concerned. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of shit that can happen, you know, in the real world. basically. Okay, I can plug this fan into the pump header, but I do need to remember to go into BIOS and adjust everything there. Okay, that's all looking pretty good. We have a pre-installed RGB controller with this case. Holds 6 5-volt devices. So we got 4 out of the 6 populated. We could add some extra if we wanted to. However, there's not really any point in doing that. They would all be for show. So you could put another 2 120s or 2 140s up top. This is fan sizes. And then you can put 2 120s down the bottom there as well. So for this configuration, there's nothing wrong with the standard configuration here with the 3 intake fans and then this 1 fan at the back here. Because with 3 fans pushing in and 1 fan pushing out, we've got this big area at the top that's vented. So any pressure differential will force heat out the top in addition to the back there. So it will be relatively balanced airflow. And I mean, we don't have we don't have some sort of freaking chip that's going to melt like a 14900K or anything like that. Okay, graphics card time. See, we gotta go fast, because if not, we're gonna get freaking wiped out by a storm. Is it still gonna be like? Is it gonna be a supercell, babe? If we get hit with like a decent amount of red or black. Oh yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. That's not a supercell. That's not a supercell. That's just a cell. If you want to buy one, that's fine. It's generally it's more of a, yeah, Christine's right. She just said that it's more of a collectible thing, and she's completely right. You can get, if you want to get like the best graphics cards you can get, typically the high-end cards from MSI or Asus are like the top range and top spec parts. They're typically clocked higher and provide more performance than like the stock specs from factory. Because I'm sure if you're asking about Founders Edition, you're aware that like NVIDIA are the ones that make the chips, but then they send those chips out to the board partners who put the chips on boards and sell them as graphics cards to consumers. So the thing to consider there is the Founders Edition is released. It's from NVIDIA. It's their own sort of, almost like their demo models. So they're not. It's not like they're not really optimized for gaming. Sometimes the heatsink and the cooling on them isn't quite as good as what you get with some of the aftermarket cards, basically. So that's generally my advice to people. If you want to buy a Founders Edition, do it because you want a graphics card, but you'd like to sort of keep it as a collectible, like long after you have finished using it in your rig. That would be a more logical use of a Founders Edition card. So, good question. There is a bit of confusion out there about that. Some people see Founders Edition and they think that, you know, oh, it means something special, but when they say Founder, they're basically saying this is NVIDIA's personal edition of the graphics card before it got sent to the board partners to do what they want with, basically. Yes, we've got a clean bit at the bottom there, so I will run the power cable from the top. See, what we got here is we always, if we've got a micro ATX board and we've got a full-size ATX case, I always route the cables behind the motherboard so we don't see any skanky cables here at the bottom. Because that's one thing that I hate about seeing micro boards in full-size ATX cases, is all the freaking cables that you see at the bottom there. It looks untidy and stuff. You know, I'm not one for manicuring the cables on the back side of the case. I think it's a waste of time. But I don't like seeing cable mess on the front. I like it to be pretty neat and tidy on the front end. Well, I'm going to have to go from... It's a fairly short cable. I mean, yes, I could use the other bit of it, but I don't want to because, like I said, I like to keep it tidy. Okay, so I want to cable tie. Yeah. Yep. Yep, cool. Some people ask me, why would I put a micro ATX board in a full-size ATX case? And my response to that is, why not? ATX size cases typically have better airflow dynamics than micro ATX cases as a general rule. So it definitely makes sense, you know. If you've got the money, I mean, I just look at it as the price of the case and what it looks like physically. So there's obviously there's a few different styles. Everything's personally subjective, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about choice, and for most people, something like what we got here is ideal. Okay, so that's our rig. 4060 Ti, Ryzen 7600 6-core 12-thread CPU. All right. Okay. So you know what the deal is now. We're not going to have any faulty parts for a while because we've had so many faulty parts recently that statistically it's basically impossible now. It is. I mean, just go switch it over. We're about to post. It already posted. It did a re. It's loading different memory profile.
Ah!
You still live?
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Sweet.
Fucking storms.
Keeps hitting the high. It must be hitting the high voltage lines for this.
Well, I've been watching Big and Storm Chase, and the people have been posting a lot of stuff about
Lightning.
lightning.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna skip the BIOS update now, just in case anything weird happens. I do have a UPS, of course, but I'm just a little bit paranoid. Just a little bit. I'll just go and turn on the Expo profile, and we'll just continue with the Windows install. Okay. So I always install Windows 10 Pro, and I'm going to keep doing it up until when it's no longer supported. Just because a lot of people still like Windows 10, believe it or not. It's a free update from Windows 10 Pro to Windows 11 Pro. It's just something that gets taken care of via the Windows Update screen, so people can decide to do that if they want to. Windows will prompt you and ask you if you want to upgrade to Windows 11 anyway, so sometimes people will buy a PC and they get it with Windows 10. They're like, hang on, you said this had Windows 11. It's like, oh, yeah, but it's the same thing. You can switch between the two versions right now. It's the same product key and everything like that. So it's mainly it's mainly a serious cosmetic and security update on top of Windows 10. A lot of the stuff behind the scenes is very, very, very similar, and basically it's still another version of Windows 10, basically. What's going on? Looks like we're about to get rain, but just rain, not a crazy ass downpour. Yeah.
Race is something.
Hey Ray, how you going? Good to have you with us. Just getting on to the Windows and software installation side of things on our Ryzen 7600 and RTX 4060 Ti rig.
That's her daughter.
Oh, really?
I need to get my AirPods on. Multitask.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry, it's going to take several minutes. Take several seconds. Alright.
Ollie says I'm not sub to you yet. You were in my sub feed. What the fuck?
I don't know, man. Don't ask me. That's on your end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Review
Yep.
So which mobile brand is better for Ryzen 7000 CPU Asus versus Gigabyte versus MSI?
I would definitely go with an Asus or MSI board. Just based on my own experience and yeah, the quality of the boards. The fuck? That's really weird. There it goes. No, you're right, man. Asus and MSI are famous for their motherboards. Both have cheaper boards and both have very expensive boards. Mm-hmm. Okay. Alright, so now we can go ahead and plug in a LAN cable. So like I said, I think this is going to Perth. Alright, so just one SSD. Alright, we'll get MSI Afterburner set up for our benchmarks.
Holy shit. Got this blue gallons.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It's gonna rain.
Alright. Alright, so while waiting for everything else, just let me get a couple of things from Microsoft Store and then we'll run the gaming benchmark, starting with Heaven. Heaven's a DX11 benchmark. It's a very old benchmark. It's been used for many, many years at this stage, but it's a good baseline to run, just to give you a consistent view of different graphics cards running the same benchmark. It can pretty much help you quantify the difference between various different graphics cards, because we can't test every game, but we can run a few of these benchmarks here to run some comparisons. Alright, so let's run Heaven here on high, no anti-aliasing. Alright, and all this stuff on the screen there. GPU 2 there, that's our graphics card. Got our temperature, usage, clock speed, wattage. Our MEM 2 there, that's our VRAM on our graphics card. Usage and clock speed. This one here, we've got our CPU, temperature, usage, clock speed and wattage. Just be aware that we are doing stuff in the background, installing a heap of software and Windows updates. But even while doing stuff in the background, our CPU is still managing to utilize 98+% of our graphics card. So what that means, if you've got over 97% graphics card usage on average, there's no tangible bottleneck. If you had a CPU in there and it would never get your graphics card over like 90% usage, that you might have good reason to think that there is a slight bottleneck. Not enough to make you cry, but just a little bit there. What a serious bottleneck looks like is if you had your CPU running at 100% and then your graphics card is running at 60%. That's what a CPU bottleneck looks like. Because your CPU's balls to the wall, but it can't even keep up with your graphics card. It can't even fully utilize your graphics card.
You know, I feel like we're going to lose power very shortly.
Same. Well, I feel like you'll lose power on your rig. The customer's PC will continue.
We're going to cop some red.
Are we?
Already pissing down. Not here, it's the fan though. Hey! Hello! Oh, Emily says hi.
Hey Emily, how you going? Haven't seen you for a while.
Hope you're good.
Hope everything's all good in your neck of the woods. So if you're looking at the CPU temperature and starting to freak out, this is pretty normal for a Ryzen 7000 chip to be running. So when it's doing multitasking, utilizing all its cores, even if it's only 20% usage overall, it will get kind of toasty.
Elsie says benching the mark.
Benching the mark. That's right. Look at that, it had over 500 frames per second at one point. So, I mean, 4060 Ti is a bit of a boss. If you can afford to get one over a 4060, I definitely recommend it. It's $100-ish extra, basically. Alrighty, so let's run the next one. The next one is Valley. Also a DirectX 11 benchmark, but it's more demanding than Heaven, and we're also going to run it on higher settings as well. So seriously?
What?
Oh, MSI Center is being an absolute prick installing. It keeps minimizing the benchmark. I'm not even downloading drivers, I'm just trying to install the app. Hey George, how you going? Good to have you with us. Seriously? Go away. I wouldn't have fucking clicked on you, MSI Center, if you're going to be a prick. I was counting. I saw the flash.
Oh, I couldn't even see the fire. Where'd you get to?
It's fucking 8 kilometers away.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Legendary players, the CPU temp is so high.
Yeah, it's normal, man. Just a stock cooler, and we're installing stuff in the background.
Player says you can get a $30 tower cooler later in the future.
Yeah, if you wanna put something else on it. I'm not, honestly, I don't care. 80 degrees is pretty typical for CPUs in this day and age. Yeah.
Adios, guys, commenting on the
Yes.
legendary player says ABC tank. High tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is on
So
the road.
so the thing that you got to remember though is that an AMD CPU can get up to 95 degrees. That's its maximum. So as long as you don't hit 95 degrees, you're not technically over temperature.
And plus we're in a hot room with no air conditioning.
Yeah, this is a hot environment as well.
No.
It's hot. We've got tropical storms and stuff. So yeah, like I said. I mean, if you look at it now, we've got 17. We're looking 20% utilization. We're installing Windows updates and stuff. We're in the 70s there. When we were running a game on top of that, we got into the 80s, around 10 degrees or so higher than that, up to 89. But we haven't had anything go into red territory. If it shows up here as red, it's hit the thermal throttle, the T junction. So, in actual fact, this is actually running as expected, within the bounds of normal. It's not, what we were seeing was not actually a CPU overheating as such. So I know it can be a little bit weird if you're not familiar with all the modern chips and what they run like. Nah.
And more than likely, this PC's got to be in an air-conditioned environment.
Most people in this day and age will have their PC in an air-conditioned environment, probably about 10 degrees cooler than what it is in this room right now. So there's that to consider as well. So. Alright, that's all going on. Windows updates are installing. Okay. So the final one we run is superposition here at 4K resolution. Now, I don't recommend using a 4060 Ti for 4K. The reason is it's only got 8 GB of VRAM. You really want 12 or above for 4K. Plus, it's a 4060 Ti. It was never really meant to do 4K gaming. I mean, yes, if running games at like 50-60 frames a second's fine, so something like GTA or Red Dead Redemption, that'd be fine. You could run that on a nice 4K screen. You could get a nice 4K TV and run that. It doesn't matter that it's only 60 Hertz. Those sort of games, you know, it's not really about the frames per second. It's about the detail in the game. The draw distances and stuff like that is much more important than a first-person shooter game where, you know, yes, draw distance is important for all games. I'll correct myself there. But when it comes to playing online, having a high frame rate is very, very important. Because if not, you end up with a situation where... Alright, so let's run a superposition here with our...
Strong browning.
If you're noticing the lights flickering, that's because of the electrical storm. Ah. What made that crash? This is the problem when you try and run them while things like Windows updates running in the background. But I'm kind of paranoid with this storm. I mean, I'm not worried about anything blowing up. I'm just worried about losing power to the streaming PC. So as you can see there, like, you know, averaging about 70-ish, 75-ish frames per second here at 4K. And so you wouldn't want to play Call of Duty at 4K with this card. But, you know, Red Dead Redemption, GTA, Tomb Raider, freaking, and dozens more, you know, games like that will run, you know, completely fine. Basically, any kind of racing game, any RPG game, any freaking real-time strategy game.
Might play Sims?
Christine's like, could she play Sims? Yeah, you could play Sims.
That's what I do. Play Sims and I'll play Forza. any racing game or anything like it.
Have you gotten iRacing and played on that yet?
Yeah, I've played around with it, but I really want like an actual serial. And,
You
know,
need that.
things
You
instead of
need that.
controller, 'cause it's kind of weird playing it with a controller.
Yeah, because it's designed to be as realistic as possible, that game.
Yeah.
So it probably would feel weird with a controller. Well, this is all running pretty sweet, actually. Okay. Couple of things left installing there. Okay.
There's more behind those, so we'll probably get a little bit more rain. It's been pissing down.
Has it?
Yeah.
That'd be good. I'd be happy with that. Alright, that's all done. Okay, device manager, yes, all of our devices are installed there. We just have our one SSD there. I'll chuck Ryzen Master on there as well. It's a CPU utility app similar to XTU for Intel. Most people wouldn't really use it. But if you want to overclock or undervolt your CPU, this is the easy way of doing that. Alright, do a quick restart, then I'll do the stress test on it, and that'll be pretty much all she wrote. quick mystery, 90 minutes in and out. It's a pretty straightforward build here tonight.
No, that is nice.
Yeah. Like, my favourite fucking movie as a kid. Okay. Alright, so this is our burn-in test here. This is designed to make everything get really, really, really hot, and to make sure that everything's gonna survive under load. So what we're doing here is not designed to make it run like cool and calm or anything like that. We're intentionally trying to make it get really, really hot to make sure it doesn't seriously overheat. Because something that you got to remember, power supplies these days are always installed at the bottom, and the fan is face down, so it draws in air from outside of the case, and it's like its own sealed little unit there, separate from the rest of it, because the temperatures that CPUs and graphics cards can operate at is too hot for the power supply. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that once the system heats up, that residual heat in the case isn't enough to transfer through the metal there and get into the power supply and cause the power supply to overheat. Because if the power supply overheats, then it will just shut itself off in the middle of using it, and you won't even be able to turn it back on for another 15 minutes after it shorts out from over temp. Or shouldn't say shorts out, I should say cuts out. Shorts out technically is something a little bit different. Alrighty, so there is our Thermark benchmark, and here is Cinebench. And we just let it run here. We've got our temperatures and everything for our system. And we just let this one run for 90 minutes, running a heap of power through it. As I said, our CPU can get up to 95 degrees, our graphics card can get up to 80 degrees on the GPU, and up to 100 degrees on the hotspot. And yeah, most power supplies, after they get to about 75-80 degrees, that's it, game over. No more power running through that unit. And so as a result, as you can see, our PC components, they get that hot. So it's important that, you know, we make sure that once this runs full balls to the wall for 90 minutes, that it's not overheating our power supply. So that's what this test is designed to do. Also, you know, hopefully if something is going to go wrong with the PC, it'll go wrong while I'm stress testing it and not immediately after I ship it to the customer. Because obviously, from my perspective, that's like the worst thing that can happen. I don't want to ship anyone a PC that's immediately got problems, though sometimes that can happen and it's out of my control. We just do the best to resolve the problems. But yeah, like I said, I try to make sure everything's all good before we ship them. Alright. Well, that's pretty much the end of the road tonight. So if anyone's got any other final questions or comments for me before I sign off, now is your chance to speak. Most people have left by this stage usually. Yeah, it gets pretty boring from here because we're just running the stress test for 90 minutes. I usually finish up. I don't stay live for the whole stress test. It's pointless. The only one who really cares about how it went is the customer who's buying it, you know? For everybody else, it's like, And, oh, well, but like, that's what I mean. Of course I care, because my customers care, so of course I care about it. But if you're just watching, you know, you probably don't really care too much about, you know, the ins and outs of how this stress test actually ended at the end. All you'd want to know is, did it pass the stress test or did it fail? Because, yeah. So when you put a PC under load, it'll get warm to the touch. I get people freaking out when they touch their PC after they've been gaming on it for 4 hours. So like, geez, it's nearly hot to the touch. And it's like, yeah, all the stuff inside it gets really hot. If you use it flat out for hours and hours and hours, that heat transfers into the case. It's not a problem. It's not overheating. The fact that the heat's transferring into the case and the case is radiating the heat into the air, that's actually cooling, if that makes sense, right? It's transfer of heat into the environment, which means heat is moving away from the heat source and radiating out into the cool environment. So the fact that it's doing that, it just means that, you know, it's transferring heat through the case, which is exactly what you'd expect after hours of running it. You have a problem when it cuts out. When you're using it and then the screen just goes black, the system turns off, and then you can't turn it on again. Then you know your power supply is overheated. And you might have to either get a new case, get a new cooler, get a new power supply, or maybe all of the above. So alright. think that's pretty much it. How we going, babe? No, all good. Sweet as. Well, look, thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.